Hi, and welcome to episode 4 of the Small Talk / Conversation Strategies series by Life Confident. Thanks for joining me. I'm happy to have you here, whether you're watching from the live stream or the podcast. So, today we're going to be discussing something that 95% of us, at least, have an anxiety about. That elephant in the room that when you're there, you hope it doesn't notice you and come over to visit you. And that elephant is awkward silences. So, an awkward silence can happen in either one of two ways, either through you asking something of somebody else and they don't really respond or they give a very short response. If that happens, it's probably because you've asked a closed question as opposed to an open question. So a closed question requires only a very short response, like a yes or a no, or maybe you've asked them what they do for a living and they've responded literally, oh, I'm an engineer. Maybe they don't like the job and they don't want to talk about it. And so they don't embellish, they don't give further details. And now you've got potentially awkward silence if you can't think of anything else to say. And then you're trying to slip away quietly without them noticing. But now you've got that awkward silence. But that topic is for another day where we will talk about how to actually read a person and see whether they're actually open for conversation before you even approach them. Yes, that is entirely possible. But today we're looking at the other way that an awkward silence can occur, and that is through somebody asking you a question and you don't really know how to respond to it. And so you go into freeze, flight, fight mode. Suddenly the spotlight of attention is on you, especially if you're in a group conversation and everybody is looking at you for your response and you don't really have a response, and so you start shrinking down under the intensity of the gaze, and thinking that people are going to think that you're boring when you just give a very muted one word response and you're desperately thinking of something interesting to respond with, but you've got nothing, and so you just want to get the hell out of there again. So now we're presented with an awkward silence, and let's say, for example, you've been asked whether you like fishing. Now, I've got a brother-in-law that loves fishing. I've also got an uncle that loves fishing, and they particularly like going out at 5 o'clock in the morning or 4 a.m. and setting up their fishing rod at the river and sitting there for hours on end doing I don't know what. But for a lot of people, this is a very pleasurable pastime, a very serene kind of pastime, um, an almost meditative. There's a tongue twister. Let me do it again. A meditative experience, and for them, it's enjoyable, especially perhaps if you have a very busy job that requires a lot of thought, and you like to take this hobby to counterbalance and bring peace to your mind. I don't know. But for a lot of people, fishing is a very calming and pleasurable pastime. For me personally, I don't get it. I don't enjoy fishing at all. And so if I'm asked if I like fishing or if I'm a fan of fishing, I guess I'm going to be honest. I'm going to say no. I'm not going to say I don't get it because then I'm being a little bit insulting to the other person, perhaps. But the point is, I've got really nothing very much to say on the topic unless I actually go out and learn a little bit about it. So here we are. We're now faced with an awkward silence. The elephant has noticed you and it's coming over for a chat to say, see how you're going, and you're in freeze, flight, fight mode. What do I say? So you've got three options, and we just covered the first one, which is to say nothing or just to make a very short response about it. And that's where, if you're an anxious person, your shyness, that's maybe where your conversations have historically gone. You don't know what to do with that awkward silence, and that's why you need options. And that's what this live stream's about, how to present some more options. So I said that there's three options. There may be more, but I've got three I'm covering with you, and the first one is pretty useless. I'm just establishing it as a baseline response, which a lot of people have, and which I, in my past, have often had. Now, I've not known how else to handle this scenario. But you've got two further options. You can either, well, if they ask you if you're a fan of something and you're not, and you've got nothing to say on the subject, then you could sidestep it and ask yourself, what do I know that's related to this subject? So you could sidestep into another subject, a related topic of conversation, and start talking about that. So what's related to fishing? Maybe boating. Maybe you enjoy boating, and it's a very similar sort of experience. You like canoeing, perhaps it's related to the river, and or maybe you like dolphin watching when you're on holiday. Something like that. It's a related topic. If you've got an experience, you could share it. So now you've sidestepped the fishing issue, and you've gone into a related topic, and you can talk about that. And I'm going to share with you a quick anecdote. I don't know if you've ever read the book The Secret, The Law of Attraction, and all this business, but not 5 minutes before I was due to do this live stream, there was a knock at the door, and it was a delivery driver from DPD, and he knocked on the door, and it was a very strange scenario. I've never experienced it before. I opened the door, and there was the delivery driver with a parcel in his hand, and he handed it over to me. And these days, delivery drivers have to take a picture to prove that they've made the delivery. Okay, this is very common. We're used to this these days. But on this occasion, he said to me, well, I've got to wait 40 seconds because there's a scheduled time for this delivery and I'm 40 seconds early. So now I'm faced with this complete stranger in a very unexpected scenario where we need to make some conversation or have an awkward silence because he's got to wait 40 seconds and I'm not going to be rude and close the door on him. And so I'm thinking, well, I don't know very much about the parcel delivery business, so I can't really comment on that. He's made an anchoring statement. If you watched our last live stream, yeah, established a mutually shared reality that we're both standing on the doorstep. He's got a parcel delivery, and he went into the reveal. If you're familiar with the last live stream, if you're not, tune into it. We covered the R method. So he anchored the scenario. And then he went into a reveal by telling me that he has to take a photo, but he's 40 seconds early, and he needs to wait so that when the clock on his little handheld device reaches the correct time, then he can take a picture, which will be uploaded back to his company, and then he can move on with his job. So he's given a bit of a reveal to me. But of course, it's a very unscripted scenario, and he's not going to start encouraging me to talk about the scenario. And in fact, he's probably not even ever heard of the R method before. So now the ball really falls into my court. He's established why he's there and why he needs to wait for a few seconds. And so I'm thinking, well, I can't comment on your scenario, but I'm thinking, can I sidestep into a related scenario? And so back in my past, I used to be a field engineer. So I did a related job to his, wherein I used to visit customers during my working day. I would visit anywhere between 4 and 20 customers. So I was often visiting different houses, just like he was doing with his deliveries. And so I sympathized, and I said, yeah, you're really under the spotlight these days. When I was working for my company, they always knew where I was at any particular time of the day. I had a tracker in the van. If I stopped along my route to do something else, they might give me a call and say, why have you stopped? Is there a problem? And I got on the same wavelength with him and establishing this mutually shared reality. And then we filled in that 40 seconds, and then he was able to take his photograph, and he was quite happy that we hadn't just stood there in silence. And he went off, and he was happy, and he said goodbye to me, and he said it with good energy. So I know it was not feeling awkward in any way. And that's it. That's the anecdote. That is relatable to this option that you can sidestep into um, a related experience, something related to what they've shared. But if you do this too often, then you do start becoming self-absorbed. So it's not something you can dip into all the time. But the third option, and perhaps the best option, is you've got to consider that the other person asked you whether you're a fan of fishing for a very specific reason. And that reason is quite probably because they are a fan of it and they would like to talk about it. And so they're not really so much asking if you're a fan. What they're really perhaps asking is for permission to talk about that subject. And you give them permission by asking them a question. So you could say, no, well, I'm not really a fan, or I've not got any experience of fishing. What is it about fishing that interests you? How did you discover fishing? What pleasure do you find in fishing? What's fishing about? Are you some question like this, which enables them to then talk. Now, if you get onto a topic about a subject that you enjoy, then you're in the zone, you're in the flow state, and you're enjoying yourself, right? Now, if you give them permission to talk about their core topic, something that they enjoy, then they're going to get into the flow state and they're going to be happy. And they're going to be happy because you enable them to talk about their topic. And now they're in a good place, they're happy, they're talking about something they're familiar with, and they associate their good feeling with you because you're a good listener, you're an active listener, you're present, and you've enabled them to talk about something that they're enjoying. Whereas quite often people are just in waiting mode and they're just looking for an opportunity to deliver an anecdote of their own, as we kind of discussed in option two, where you're sidestepping into your own topic. So you've got to gauge a situation a little bit and determine whether fishing for the other person is a hot button topic, something that they would really like to talk about. And if you think it is, that's why they're asking you, then enable them, let them talk about it for a little while. If not, if you think it's okay that you can sidestep into something else, then great, do so. But at least in either option, you're not faced with an awkward silence. You're not standing on the doorstep for 40 seconds in awkward silence and the elephant in the room has wandered off to find somebody else to annoy. Okay, so that's it for this live stream, for this podcast. I hope that was valuable and interesting to you. As I said before in my previous live stream, have a look in the description for a link. Sign up and get notifications of the next live stream, the next podcast, and what it'll be about. There's going to be a code in the email that you receive, giving you a 20% discount off live confident workshops. And in all probability, there's going to be a PDF as well of this live stream, just in case you liked it and you want a little refresher, something to remind you of it, and you can maybe upload it to your phone and keep it in the notes section. Or if you're old school, you might want to print it off. I don't know. But I think a PDF is a nice option to have. So if there's a nice step-by-step process in any of the live streams that I'm giving, then I'm thinking that I'm going to create a little PDF and I'm going to attach it in an email to send to you. So there's extra reasons to sign up, apart from just getting more connected with these live streams and with me personally and with Life Confidence, if you like. We have a lot of material and out of the box thinking material, all relating to social skills and conversation strategies. And a lot of them are especially geared towards people that are anxious, are shy, and do tend to get a blank mind in conversations. And the workshops, the strategies that I personally develop are geared towards that kind of need. If you need to overcome that kind of scenario where you are subject to your mind going blank. Of course, confidence is the other thing that will help you overcome it. When your mind is relaxed in conversation and you're confident in the subject that you're talking about, then again, you've got less chance that your mind is going to close up and abandon you and put a out to lunch sign up in your mind. So you're stuck with nothing to say. You've got all the material in your brain, all the experiences, all the anecdotes, etc. They're just inaccessible. So that's where we are with all that. Of course, you don't have to sign up. Just look for the next notification on your iPhone for the next live stream coming up, which may be in a few days' time. There's a lot of great material to cover, and I hope this was one of them. So thanks.